Yeah, actually, we're just outside of Sacramento, and my daughter plays on the LPGA Tour, and she's buying a condo here in Lake Las Vegas, and so
we decided to shoot playing lessons from the pros here at Reflection Bay in Lake Las Vegas, and you guys are going to get a closer look at some of the things that we go through in a practice round and how we play shots and some things that go through our minds when we're out there on the golf course.
Playing Lessons from the Pros, presented by the Ace Group.
You don't want to take it real short and fast or decelerate through it, but try to maintain the same tempo through all those shots. Hi, my name is Natalie Gulbis, and we're doing playing lessons from the pros here at Lake Las Vegas. That one held pretty. See the release in that thing, Dad? Yeah. That thing didn't hold at all.
Right on the downslope?
I hit on the downslope. Probably when I was about 4 or 5, my father just used to go out with his buddies like anybody else, and instead of sending me to a babysitter after school, he worked in law enforcement, so he used to work a graveyard shift, and he'd get off at about 2:30 and pick me up from school, and I'd just go out with his friends and ride around the golf course, run around the golf course, and then when I got a little bit older, I actually started playing a bit more and gambling with them, and it was great.
she was really a very accomplished junior player. So, you know, by the time she was 13, 14 years old, she was very accomplished. She never played junior. She didn't play AJGA tournaments. So she played women's tournaments right from the beginning. By the time she was 12, 13, she played in all the women's tournaments. And won the California Amateur at Women's Amateur at 14.
Go.
Is that where you wanted to hit it up there?
Yeah, I just needed to hit a little bit harder.
Probably kind of got to believe you finished him
Huh?
now.
Well, what we tend to do in the off season this year, we work on her setup and her try to get her in a good ball position. That's what we've been working on. That's something that we kind of figured we needed to work on from last year. And so when she's out practicing or playing on the golf course, I try to stand behind her and give her some ideas as far as her ball position and whether she's squared off to her target and this and that. So that looks good. That's perfect.
I went in.
Perfectly in the sand trap. Everything will kick off the right side of that green.
I didn't leave myself a too easy of a shot here. But I am going to take a lower to a middle lofted club to get over this lip. And the pin's actually a little bit left of that red stake, if you can see that. But I'm going to take it probably to the center of the green. It's a little bit safer shot. The desert kind of comes up on the right-hand side. Play it probably a little more forward in my stance, make sure I get over this lip. And probably one of the most important things when hitting these shots is making sure you get a real good base for a stance, keeping your posture up, and just a nice smooth swing. Just like that, hopefully. How'd that? Is it on? Okay, cool. Thanks. Just beyond there is my condo's right in there. So I'll be able to walk to the golf course, I'll be able to run on the golf course, be able to walk just straight to the gym. Couldn't be any better.
Perfect. The swing was a little inside, hon.
Okay.
It was a little inside.
Okay.
And you didn't really get the release on the back. Kind of held on to the backswing, so get that thing released at the top. Okay.
Trying to, you can see in my golf swing, I've got a lot of extra rotation. I'm hyper flexible or hyper mobile, which allows me to get way back.
Excuse me?
in my backswing, most people take their backswing to about here. I have a lot of flexibility in my upper body. It's called hyperflexible or hypermobile. So I can go way, pretty far back. But it's okay for me right now as, you know, 20 years old. Probably it'll be okay. So I'm trying to shorten my golf swing, make it a little bit more compact. So, you know, hopefully the last 9 holes of an event, I can, you know, keep it in control a little bit better. I can see it at the front left pin, so I want to put myself in good position to where I can have a good angle at that pin. By hitting the ball right, I would have to come over the bunker, and it would be pretty difficult for me to spin the ball. But from the left-hand side, I have a good, you know, a little bit of area to run the ball up, and a little bit more area to kind of plan a shot. So even though there is a bunker on the left, I'm going to be hugging the left side of the fairway to give me a better angle to attack this pin and make a birdie, because it is a par 5, and so there's a hole you want a birdie.
You want to choke down a little bit because your feet are going to be below the ball.
So that'll put me right on the left side of the fairway. That should give me a good angle to go right at this pin.
We've been working on this shot at about 45, 50 yards because she tends to turn her blade over at impact, so the ball tends to run out. So we've been working on keeping the blade straight up at the finish and holding her swing and getting the blade up at finish, and that'll kind of check up a little bit because she tends to turn everything, and then the ball hits and just rolls forever.
So I walked it off to be about 45 yards, pretty much right to this ridge, and I'm probably going to try and carry it just past this ridge and let the ball release. But by walking it off, I get to come up here, and as you know, as long as we have time as far as the clock, you know, I have time to kind of look at the shot and look at the break, because this is a shot that, you know, I mean, I could knock it in from here, or at least, you know, get it close enough to, you know, to have a tap in. So it's really important that, you know, I get a good look at the shot.
She's right on track. She's right, but she's still young, and she's going to need a couple of years. You know, refine her game, and putting stroke and short game, I think, is something that we work on real hard. So hey babe, this is where you really want to keep that, make sure that blade stays up.
I have a tendency with these chips to kind of release my hands a little bit, so I've been working really hard on trying to keep my hands forward and keep my blade square through the ball to create a little bit more spin and a little bit straighter shot.
It's about 40 yards to the front of the green, about 49 of the pin. So you got to make sure you keep that blade up. Looks good. It rolled by a little bit, but that was very good. You kept the blade up.
Okay.
So that looked really good.
Okay.
Natalie, that's a shot a lot of people struggle with. Is that kind of one that you struggled with over time?
Just worked on it a lot. At my home, usually I try to find a golf course that I can go back, or even just out here. You can go out and put a whole bunch of balls at 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, pretty much to what the maximum you hit your lofted wedge, and work on full swings for whatever. If you hit it 60 yards, full swings, and then find out how far you actually hit it when you take a 3/4 swing, and figure that out. Maybe if you take a full swing and you hit it 80 yards, maybe a 3/4 swing would be about 65, 70 yards. Then take half swings and see how far those are going. And another way that you can, if you have problems judging by the backswing, is actually just going up and down in your grip, where I like to keep my hands a little bit above the golf pride. With the full swing, if I want to take 10 yards off, I can go down a wrap for every 10 yards, and that will limit the swing arc and produce shorter shot.
Same pace.
And same pace. You're always, you know, you don't want to take it real short and fast or decelerate through it, but try to maintain the same tempo through all those shots.
As your playing lesson continues,
Here at Reflection Bay,
Try
why wouldn't I want to hit a 3/4 9-iron? Because I have kind of a bad lie.
Playing lessons from the pros.
Lessons from the pros. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada at Reflection Bay. A beautiful day, walking down the fairways.
Right edge of the fairway bunker, because everything kicks down the side down there, so. Okay, that looks real good.
Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit into the wind, so I've lowered my, my tee a little bit.
Make sure you get that release on the backswing.
And that should be in the desert. Yeah, I hit 2 drives there. Right before I hit my first drive, my father was, we were talking about a little bit of a swing change. So sometimes when you're on the golf course and you are thinking about a swing change, it tends to supersede what you're trying to do, which is basically on the golf course, you're just trying to hit shots and hit targets. And I think that, that's the problem for a lot of players that miss hit shots, is when they are getting a little bit too technical or worrying about different parts of their golf swing. They forget to trust their swing, and you hit a couple errant shots. So if if I can give any sort of a tip, work on your swing and work on your mechanics when you're in the driving range. And, whatever you got that day, whether it's a hook or a slice or, it might be okay to make a few changes here and there, but just play what you have. I remember watching things about Jack Nicklaus, or even you still hear players say, well, if I had a fade going today, so just start a little bit more left and just trust that. It's better to play with confidence than, to play with a little bit of doubt because you're working on something that's mechanical. And this was an example. First ball, desert. Second ball, fairway. When I was just trusting my swing. Sometimes it's not all that easy, though.
What's unusual as far as the golf swing goes? I mean, the players that have played in the past, and the great players, Nancy Lopez, my favorite female player of all time, of course. I mean, you talk about an unorthodox golf swing.
But there's nothing unorthodox about the way she hits the ball. No, I think that runs true with my golf swing.
Yeah, it's again, you've got to be square at impact. So there's a lot of moves off the ball. I mean, you look at the great players out there. I mean, PGA, seniors, LPGA, everywhere.
Even Annika, our #1 player on our tour, she's got an unorthodox move.
So it's kind of like what's good for you and what has worked, and if it's an athletic swing.
And you can repeat it.
And that you're square at impact. And that's the key.
Since I have a little bit of a downhill lie, I really want to make sure that I stay down and take a divot so I don't clip it a little clean.
And play a little bit deeper in your stance, too. A little bit back in your stance. So you want to go about see where the light fixture is there at telephone pole? In the back? That's a bad place. Try
Why wouldn't I want to hit a 3/4 9-iron? Because I have kind of a bad lie. Why would I want to take a full swing off of?
That was more of a bad swing than a bad lie. Do you see where the light fixture is in the back of the green, Natalie? Well, you were right and I was wrong. That definitely was a 9-iron.
Huh? I don't know, I just think it's real important to take a divot. At least for me, when I pick the ball, I don't get as much distance, and I tend to hit the ball a little bit sideways, but by staying down and kind of through the ball, like you've seen probably Jesper, he takes divots about this big. But it's really been advantageous in when I play Bermuda, or when I'm coming out of the rough, because I do go after the ball, and I get through the hitting zone pretty fast.
Coming up.
I'm hitting probably closer to a long iron, and even though the pin's behind the, on the left-hand side, the water comes into play over there, and so does the bunker. The right club I left myself, I short-sided myself, and I have got a long bunker shot to a back pin. So what I try to do on longer shots is, sometimes I'll go to a sand wedge, but I try to stay with the same club. And all I'm really going to do is hit it almost similar to how I would with a short pin. I'm just going to square my blade up I'm still going to take it 2 inches behind the ball and just really work on my tempo. I know the ball's going to release. I can't see it, but I think I hit it okay. How is it? Yeah, so that turned out, hopefully it hit about midway and just released. Putting is definitely the game. I mean, it separates so many rounds, great rounds from, you know, being good rounds being great rounds, and also when you're just not hitting the ball well, it really saves you and pulls you out of a lot of things. Just making a few shots here and there. See, one of the things I was going to say too is on a downhill putt like this, speed really comes into play a lot. So you don't want to have it's really easy to lip these type of putts out when you're downhill. I'm hitting probably closer to a long iron, and even though the pin's behind the, you know, it's on the left-hand side, the water comes into play over there, and so does the bunker. And there's a lot more green to the right, so I'm going to try to take this more at the center of the green, and I would be okay with having a 15, 20-foot putt, because this is not really a hole that, you know, that it's worth attacking.
Open your stance just there.
I mishit that, so that's going to have to go.
That clear?
No.
I didn't clear?
Nope. So I'll be insane.
Swing at the ball.
I didn't feel like I really got back far enough.
No, you flipped at it.
Okay.
You flipped. That was the swing that your club gets lost at the top.
Okay.
You lose contact at the top, and it kind of starts wiggling around for you.
Yeah.
And you never get back into a good striking position.
Okay. I'm going to be squaring up my blade and just hitting 2 inches behind the ball. I hit a little bit too far. I have a little bit of fringe behind me, so I'm actually going to bring the putter head up just slightly to make sure that because of the difference, the steps of the grass. Probably play a little bit back in my stance, create a little bit of a steep angle with my putter, and allow the ball to still roll okay, even though I have the two different levels of grass cut. So I'm going to lift it up a little. Up. But still a pretty decent putt from where I was at.
Next.
Just kind of always had it. I can play a fade if I need to around a tree, but generally I don't find myself really needing to.
As your playing lesson continues.
You going right over that trap?
No, I'm going right at the trap. One thing that amateurs really help them is just to pick very minute, specific targets instead of when they get up onto the tee box, instead of looking at the whole fairway.
Get the extension back.
To just picking out very small target, whether it's a tree or an angle or, you know, a cut in the fairway. Well, if you err a little bit left and right, you're still okay. You're still in the fairway.
We saw a little bit of a draw ball flight there. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, that's the ball flight that I play. I get a little bit of extra roll with that, and just kind of always had it. I can play a fade if I need to around a tree, but generally I don't find myself really needing to work the ball too much. Straight ball usually comes in handy. See, look, there goes Wilbur again. See, told you.
Who's Wilbur?
Wilbur is the mascot for the University of Arizona Wildcats. I went to Arizona for a year, and I turned professional after my first year of college.
Her swing over the years has been steep, pretty steep, and she tends to lift a little early and a little steep, and we've been getting away from that a little bit more to where she's actually rotating this way a little bit more instead of, she has a tendency to drop her shoulder down. So we're getting her to rotate this way a little bit more. So her swing plane is getting a little flatter. It doesn't happen every single time. On her wedges and probably 9-iron, 8-iron, you know, it's okay if she gets a little tilty, but with her long irons, like what happened on that par 3, she got tilty on the backswing and she didn't get any distance off the ball. Everything starts breaking down. So Butch Harmon has been working on that, getting a little flatter, setting her hands a little bit.
Faster.
Yeah,
right off the ball and getting back.
Getting back there versus a tilt. She'll tend to tilt a little bit. So, I mean, this is an exaggerated tilt, but she tends to tilt, so we try to get her to rotate back this way actually a little bit and keeping her head still. So.
But with any swing change, it takes time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but pretty good progress.
Yeah, real good progress. Things are looking good.
I was a gymnast for 8-9 years, so I'm pretty strong, and you know, I have a lot of interest in fitness and working out and nutrition, and I think a lot of that aids in distance. I played on a men's high school team in high school. I played on the boys team, and I hated to be outdriven, so I would do anything possible. And I think that's some of the kinks that I have in my swing. You know, the aggressive move down at the ball is from basically putting everything that I have into every shot, because I hated to be outdriven and I hate to be beat. So, yay! I love doing this. Every single day I get to wake up and I get to do what I love to do for a living.